Hassan's in Slough. What have the Conservatives left for the Labour Party to pick up, in your view? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. I think what they've left is a legacy of turning the economy around. I'm a lifelong Tory since 1992. I was completely devastated with the loss of the Conservative vote. But congratulations to Keir Starmer, and I think the whole nation should unite. There's been too much disunity. We should unite behind the new Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And Prime Minister Sunak, he gave a very good concession speech, but I do disagree with him when he said the loss is his responsibility. It isn't. It's a responsibility of those around him who have their own agenda and the people who went before him.
The campaign is down to him. The timing and the campaign is down to him, Hassan.
Yes, but what made the loss was actually the reform. Because when I had a look at the constituencies where Labour came from,
that's for him to take on, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
To use an expression my mother used to say, a blind man on a galloping horse could see the problem that reform were giving to the Conservative Party, and he never really sought to challenge it.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's one of the mistakes. But going forward, the only comfort I can draw from last night's results is that the vote wasn't... Yeah, it was a vote against Conservatives, the Conservative Party, but it was not a vote against conservatism. So what the Conservative Party needs to do now... So they have all to play for in 2029. So what they need to do now are the 4 R's, I would say.
Go
Protect,
ahead.
recharge, rebuild, and reclaim the country in 2029.
And who is the man or woman to lead them on the 4 R's?
Well, there are 2 people I would seriously consider, Jeremy Hunt or Kemi Badenoch.
Okay.
If Suella Braverman does become our leader, I did say this on LBC before, I'll have to seriously rethink my position in the Tory party. But I'd put my money on...
Lastly, why are you so against Suella Braverman?
For some of her really, really right-wing views, I'm fairly right-wing, but some of the really incendiary comments she said about a migrant invasion, because that's the term that's used by white supremacists on the far right about Muslims. So, I don't like her politics, but for Kemi Badenoch or Jeremy Hunt.
Thank you for that, Hassan. You lead us, Nick. Thank you, and have a good week.
7-3, Hassan in Slough. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Nice to speak to you. I think the Conservatives should actually hire you as an advisor. You're making a lot of sense, and I totally agree with you when you say that Rishi Sunak should remain as leader whilst the Conservative Party has a rethink and soul-searching and take the time on that. Now, I was devastated when the Tories lost, although I was not surprised. But I think that the only comfort I draw from that is that when I looked at the constituencies where Labour gained from the Tories, Reform did very, very well. When you add up the Tory votes and the Reform votes in those constituencies, Conservatives could have done well. So Conservatives, the party has lost, but conservatism, the ideology, has not lost. It is still there. And I think Rishi Sunak, what he has left behind as a legacy is a growing economy, turning the economy around, which is the most important thing a Prime Minister can do. So I hope that the Labour government doesn't squander it. And one thing that hasn't really been said much is that the Conservative Party is the only party that has broken the glass ceiling when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So they produced 2 ethnic prime ministers, 3 women prime ministers, and they had the most diverse cabinet in British political history.
Steady on, Hassan. One of them only lasted 49 days. I mean, we're not going to count her, are we?
No, sure.
I mean, look, I'm all for diversity. Don't get me wrong, Hassan. I'm all for diversity. Don't get me wrong. But I would actually rate competence higher than the colour of your skin or your sex.
Yeah, and that's what Rishi Sunak did actually mention when he was talking about being elected as the first Asian Prime Minister. Is that now it doesn't matter.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yep.
You're brown or woman no longer matters. It did matter 30 years ago. You would not have been allowed, or there would have been glass barriers. Yeah. But now it no longer matters, and that's a cause for celebration. The level of consciousness has actually increased. So that's the point that's to be noted.
Absolutely.
I know that Labour have not actually talked about diversity and inclusion because they've lost the argument. They focus on class. But even then, they've got it wrong on how to close the class divide.
Well, it's an interesting point, Hassan, and I thank you for it. Always good to hear from you.